Hello, folks. This is Margie Roy from 3dcuts.com, and today I'm doing the tutorial on my Winter Wanderings shadow box. This is my latest cardstock shadow box. It is a series of shadow boxes in that when you get this file, it comes with a whole series of different add-ons that you can include. There's flexibility in how you put it together, and you get to make some decisions about that. I've included a couple walking a dog, a couple snowshoeing, a man walking a dog, a woman walking the dog, and a person cross-country skiing. All of these options are included with this scene. I'm going to make the cross-country skier today in this assembly tutorial, but you can swap that out for any one of these others easily. Or you can do your own silhouette of yourself doing something outside in a winter wonderland. This shadow box uses the straw construction technique, which I find easy and quick. Sometimes it helps when you're making something to be able to see one that is done before you start. I have taken apart one of the shadow boxes so that you can see what I mean by the straw construction technique. I have stacked the layers of the shadow box with straws between them to use as the spacers. This creates a really solid center for the shadow box. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about shadow boxes. This particular one I like a lot for working with. I get it from Amazon, and there's a link at my website. The thing that you need to know about shadow boxes is this one sells as an 11 by 11 inch square shadow box. But if I measure it, it is 12 inches square. If you have a 12-inch square shadow box, it's probably close to the same size as this. The other measurement that you need to be aware of in your shadow box is the inside measurement. And on this one, inside the frame here is 11 by 11, but there's an inside collar, and inside that is 10.5 by 10.5. So in this shadow box, the two matte layers, these ones here, are 11 by 11, and the two and all the other layers are 10.5 by 10.5. You need to measure your shadow box and understand the size of it before you start cutting. I have already cut all of the pieces for this shadow box. Before you cut them, you should go to my website at the address noted here on the screen. I have included a lot of information about sizing and paper choices that you need to see there. In doing this, for all of the cream-colored layers, I used American Craft cardstock, which I got from Amazon. I love this paper for cutting details, but when I tried using the black of this type, it didn't work. I could not get the black pieces like this very detailed tree to cut out of the American Craft cardstock. I used Michael's Recollections in the 8.5 by 11 size, and that worked much, much better. Choice of paper is important, and it sometimes changes with the color of the dye in the particular cardstock. So make sure you have high quality, non-fibrous cardstock before you try cutting out these detailed pieces. You should also experiment with detail cutting. If you've never done it before, it requires some knowledge of your blade, your mat, and your cutting machine and how well they cut. Not all mat blade cutting machine combinations can do details like this. I use a Silhouette 3. I've got a premium blade, which I consider essential. And I use fairly new and sticky mats when I do detailed cutting like this. But go to my website, check out those links. Also, pay attention to sizing. For whatever reason, certain other combinations of machines and software don't always keep the sizing consistent from different parts of a file. And this file comes in multiple multiple files. Make sure that your sizes are matching my sizes before you start cutting. We don't want to have wasted paper. Now, when I make a shadow box like this, there are a number of layers. And I am going to start by putting all of the details on each layer before I put the whole thing together. First thing we're going to do is put the first layer, which is the matte. It goes on the front, and it is two pieces. It's a cream colored piece and a colored piece. This color is up to you. It does not need to be blue. And I'm going to glue these together. I want to make sure that this cream colored margin is the same all the way around. What's on this outside edge isn't that important. The glue I use is Art Glitter Glue. It has no glitter in it, but I love it as a glue for working with cardstock. I transfer it to these little containers that have the tiny nozzles, so I have really great control over the glue as I apply it here. And I'm just going to glue this edge all the way around. There is a link to these little dispensers on my website as well. I got them at Amazon. I really want this to be even. Okay, we'll put that to the side. Onto this piece, onto the back side, is going to be the large pine tree. That is made up of two parts. There is the off-white backing. Notice I have, after I cut my pieces, I attached them to an old mat. This is just a hint. On this particular shadow box, there are some tiny pieces. And if you don't find a way to corral them, you will lose them around your craft room. Now, I cut all of these with the textured side down. And this one will get adhered here. It will look like snow on a dark pine tree when all done, said and done. I am going to match it up and then add glue to the back. Trying to make sure that I get a dot on the tip of just about every little extension here. I'm going to do it in a couple of passes so that it doesn't dry on me. Art Glitter Glue does dry clear. Now on this particular cutout, this joint here wiggles. So you got to make sure that you get things aligned. There we go. And now I'm going to pull these back and add some more glue to the back side here. Making sure that I get the extensions. Continue to line things up as I work down the tree. And then the final gluing here. If you don't get it perfect, you can always take a Sharpie and color in the places that you've missed. I had a little trouble down here, so I'll have to do that. Oh no, I won't, because they're not going to show. Okay, that one is glued together. That one is going to be put here with pop dots. And I don't know the exact placement yet until I get my next ones done, so I'm not going to adhere it till I have more pieces complete. I'm thinking that I'm going to change my direction now and start with the back landscape layer. I have printed up from my tutorial the diagram of the skier, and that's just to help me with placement. You might want to do that as well. So I'm going to put these two to the side, and I'm going to work on the back landscape. The back landscape includes the pine trees and the snow on those pine trees. And we're going to have to glue those on top. Here's a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to turn that over and apply just a little bit of glue all the way along this length. I think I'm only going to do it half at a time. On these, I do not want black to show above them. It is okay if black shows below the branches. Okay, now let's turn this over and get glue on more of it. Stop about there. And now the last batch. Okay, there's the distant trees. They will get adhered from left to right as high up as they can go without any of that background landscape showing. So I'm going to put glue along here and along this bottom edge, up this side, and then along this edge here. Align this with one edge, make sure that none of the hillside shows behind it, and bring it over to the other edge. Okay, that is the background landscape. The tree will go on next, but between the two is the little house. And on the house here, if I'm looking at this, at 7 1/4, 4 inches, it is to the right of the center line there. That's just to give me an eyeball placement. But let's put the parts of the house together. There is the house, then I've got the snowy roof. I'm going to leave those there. I need my golden light. There's my golden light. So first, we can put glue on the back of the house. And the gold piece gets glued onto the back so that there is light shining through all of the windows. Then we will take the snowy roof, put glue on that, and adhere that. I don't want any black showing above it again. Now there is the piece which is the snow over the dormer. A little bit of glue on that. And then the snow-capped chimney. There, those are the parts of the house. Now, positioning the house, I do apply the house to the back, but up on pop dots. And I need it positioned so that it shows some of the windows here. I don't want those all down behind. As I'm looking at my diagram here, I see 2 windows. I like this composition here, so I am going to pull this back a little bit like that, and right about there is where I want my house to be. So I am going to carefully hold that in place and remove this piece. And then I'm going to get a pencil and mark just the bottom corners here. Now, as you put this shadow box together, you do not need to put these in the same location I have put them. You can decide on your own where you'd like things. Here's my collection of foam dots. I would like to get some of the 1/2 inch size ones for this. On the back side here, I am going to put foam dots there and there. And I'm going to double them up because I want to be more than that distance off the back landscape. So 4 pop dots in stacks of 2. Now I also need to put the smoke out of the chimney. The smoke I cut out of a piece of vellum. It's transparent and it is going to get glued onto the house, coming out of the chimney right like that, and then later I'll probably glue it to the background to give it some stability. So glue here. I'll let that dry for a minute before I flip it over. There we go. This will get positioned right here, like so. I can now peel off the last of the Pop Dot backing and line this up with my pencil marks right there and press it into place. Okay, that finishes everything on this back layer. The next layer is the tree layer. It has on it, if we look at the plan, attached to this layer is the tree, the kitty cat, the skier, and the gray that goes with the skier. The skier is the only one that the person gets put on this layer. On all of the other designs, the people are bigger and they go on the front layer. But the skier, he gets put back further. So we need to work him into the composition. I am going to first work on the tree. Here's my tree. I can see that a couple of the things did not come out, so let's get those up before I glue them on. There's that one and this one. Okay, the tree has been designed so that the black part covers most of the white part, but the white part shows above it so it will look like snow. I'm going to temporarily move this out of the way so that I can see this. And that's where it goes, like so. Let's take it off and let's apply glue. You'll notice that down here, it's easiest to align the trunk and then work our way up. I think I'm going to put glue on most of the main part here, glue it in place, and then do the branches individually so that I don't make too much of a mess. Good. Good place to start with the lineup is in the arch of the tree right here. Get that in place. Then slide the trunk into place and press it down. I'm now going to flip over each of these, apply more dots of glue, and press them into place until the entire tree is adhered. Now, as I place these branches, the goal is to have the snow on the top side and no white on the bottom, although in the end it isn't truly critical. There, our snow-covered tree. Okay, let's continue building our composition. Now I work with all of them together, building this whole composition. This will be that layer, and I know that this layer will be here. And I'm going to want this big tree about there so that those lights still show through. I can put that wherever I want and slice it if I feel I like it further off. Now, remember, I've told you, you can make this composition your own. The tree could go over here. You could put a smaller tree back here and a couple of smaller trees here. Make it your own, do what you want with it. But for this one, I'm going to pull the tree back here a little bit. That's where it's going to go. So the next thing on this level is going to be placement of the skier and the kitty cat. The skier is going to go right about there. Let me look at my image here. Oh, I have him much further forward so that his head, oh, this is the shadow. I don't want him. I need the skier. See, there are two. One is the shadow and one is the skier. And this is the skier, and he is going to be placed over here, right like so. I am referring to my plan as I do this. Then the two thinner whooshes will go there, and after that we'll place the cat. So we've got him in position. I can do him with these all around. So let's glue our guy in place. If you had trouble with these really fine lines cutting, you can always add them with a Sharpie marker. Like that location? Yes, I do. There we go. Now this will get moved away. And the shadow gets put here, right below it. So let's glue on the shadow. Next are the two smaller swoops. They go behind the tree. So we will glue those into place. The longer one goes to the front ski. And the shorter one to the trailing ski. Okay, let's bring my tree back out as to where it's going to be positioned, paying attention to the windows there. And then also in this area will be the fence with the kitty cat. I think right there would be the good place for that. And there is the fence with the kitty cat shadow as well. It does cross the ski trail. Then we'll get the kitty cat in the fence. The legs line up like so. Okay, this will be the next layer. We move on one more. Let's keep things lined up here. This one will include the shadow of the tree, the small tree, and the other fence. First, let's put the tree together. Move this out of the way, and I'll do this the same way that I did the last one. Let's line it up and make sure I've got the correct side there. Turn it over. I like going down to that first wobbly joint and putting that in place because I can position above that and below it without much restriction. Okay, now flip it over and get further down. Okay, there's the small pine tree. Now in this composition, small pine tree is going to be part of this shadow over here. About like so. This fence will line up. If you look in the shadow here, you can see the fence shadow. It's built into the tree one, and this will go in front of that. I would like to add snow caps to this fence. There are 3 of them. And they just go onto the top of the fence posts. Now the fence post, I'm going to glue the bottoms down and have spacers behind them. But first, we've got to glue the things behind it. So let's get this. This, for positioning, you get the tree there and then position it. Next, we'll go the pine tree. And the pine tree is going to be glued in place. It glues in along here and here. Let's see, down here. Composition is up to you as the artist. Now on this, I'm going to get little pop dots and not very thick. And I am going to put a half a pop dot on the back of the top of each fence post. As I put together a shadow box, I like to create areas where there are additional shadows, and having the top part of this fence forward a little bit helps add to the shadows. I'll line these up with the 3 fence posts here, and I'll press those in place. Okay, the fence post is in place. The last part on this one are the ski tracks. They'll go behind the tree. If you are making one of the other scenes with the other people, they can go right in this location here. If they are overhanging this airspace a lot, I would recommend that you double them up, cut it twice and glue them together so that they don't get floppy over time. Now I'm going to remove this, and I am going to paste these into place. I kind of want them to appear like they're disappearing over the hill like that. So there's one. And the parallel one will go right there. I want them spreading a little bit as they come closer to me to add a little perspective to it. Very subtle. And let's put our stack together again. Helps to put it in the right order. I'm going to step away from my skier composition for a minute. The skier composition is the only one that has the character on this level here. This is another one I've put together, and I'm going to do the 2 snowshoers. They go onto the front level here, and I want to show you that process. Now in this particular one, I put the cat here. It's in a little too far. It probably should be over there, but I'm going to work with that. Now I have already cut my snowshoers, and they on here are going to hang over this space a little bit. I think I will put this one on this side and this one on this side. I will space them so the cat's in between them. I will try to keep their heads down a little bit, but they're going to be over, and I'm afraid they might get floppy over time. Some of them even go up a whole lot higher depending on the composition. When that's the case, I would cut them out twice, and I would glue those 2 together to make them doubly thick and just a little bit stronger. So I'm going to do that now. Now I have my entire stack here so I can play with the composition a little bit. The kinds of things that I'm looking for is I want the heads to try to be clear. And then the shadows will go down here, and I'll cut them off. And you can play around with which one's taller. If that one's down a little bit so that the head is backed by white, not the black of the house. I like that location. Remember as you do this that there's going to be this frame here, and I don't want to hide too much of their feet behind that frame. The extra we can just snip off. Now, I have also printed a sky that I created in Illustrator, and I'll probably include this sky in the download as well, because you could use that and create a very different impact than the sky that I'll be using on my skier. There are a lot of ways that you can change the visual impact of this particular shadow box by changing the sky, the characters that are in it, or the arrangement. Be creative. Let's return to the skier composition now and continue with the large tree. There. I'm going to use the large pop dots on this. And remember, I'm going to put this on the back of the front. So let's put the pop dots here, here, here. And I expect that I can get a good one down in here as well. I'm going to put 2 pop dots on each of these so that they recess back a little bit more. I've just thought of an issue. These have to be in enough so that there's room for the straws later. You want to be at least 1/4 of an inch in here and 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom. And I think I'm okay still, so I'm going to do that. Remember that we're using straws for the construction, and I need to leave space for my straws here. Okay. Now these aren't lined up. I want them lined up. I want that lined up there. And we'll bring this down and press it into place right here. And when we turn it over, some of these are just going to have to be trimmed for this particular composition. It all depends on your placement, whether or not that'll need to be trimmed. But I'm trimming them to allow room for that straw later on. Now my tree is starting to bend a little bit, so I'm gonna curl it back. There we go. I'm liking it. I am liking it. Now we have got to deal with the straw construction technique. We can move this stuff all out of the way. So when I make one of these straw construction techniques shadow boxes, I use clear straws as the spacer between the layers. They give it a nice rigidity. I get these straws from Amazon. There's a link on my website. These are a bigger straw than your normal drinking straws. They're smoothie straws. What I want you to do is to take 1/8" score tape and put a strip of it down both opposite sides of each straw. You will need 20 straws. I find it easiest to get all the straws lined up like so, to take some tape and tape them to my desktop, just at the tips. Like so. Oops, one snuck out. Take both ends. Now I'm going to take my score tape. This is 1/8" score tape. There's a link to it on my website. I like using it a lot as an adhesive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a strip of score tape down the straw. Press it in place, cut it, and do this for 20 straws. You're going to get to see me do this very quickly right now. There, one side is done. I now carefully peel them up and flip them over. This holds them in place so that it is easy for me to get the other side directly opposite. When I was holding them loosely, it was hard to get the other side. Just about every craft project has its part that is tedious. This is that step for this craft project. There we go. All my straws now have score tape on them. Let's start the construction. First of all, be sure that your glass has been cleaned and dried before we put it together. Step 1 is to take out the collar and put in the colored mat. If your shadow box has a bracket up here, make sure that's at the top. Once you've got that in, add the collar. Now we're going to add the straws. I'm going to peel them off this. Okay, I can see I'm still a little close here. I'm going to take that out and cut it back a little further. My pop dots are back further. Okay, get rid of all the scraps that you get in there. Put this back in. Put the collar back in. Now I'm going to take the straw and I'm going to peel only one side. I am going to construct this so that I can take it apart if I want to change something. I'm just going to take one side and I'm going to press it against the frame right there in the corner. And I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. Then we will take layer 2, and that will get put in there. Now I've got a little bit hanging over on this one. You don't want these to be a little too big because then they buckle. You want them to fit or be a little bit smaller. I am going to put a pop dot between these two to keep some space there. Okay. Now we get another layer of straws in place. Now on this layer, we start to have some landscape here. And when I get those, I put another straw like so to help keep things aligned and well spaced. I want it down far enough so it will not be visible anywhere, but it'll help with the spacing and keeping things from sagging over time. Okay, another layer. Again, I got a few little tree things hanging over here. Cut those off. I'm seeing a few little loose parts on my tree, so I'm going to adhere those before I put it together. That's looking good. And 4 more straws. And a 5th straw across the landscape. And now we put in this layer. Now the last layer is the sky, and I've included this sky, which is a photograph of the Milky Way. I got it from pixabay.com, and they had lots of pretty skies to choose from. If you'd like to get a different sky, they are royalty-free for commercial use, so you can go and download one. I printed it on my inkjet printer on an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. It does not have to be 12 by 12, which is good because most printers don't print 12 by 12. The bottom part isn't visible, so you can fit it in here just like so. I want the light area down here. And I'm just going to place that all together now. I have not done the final peeling so that I can take it apart and make adjustments if I want to. But let's take a look. We'll put the backing in. Depending on the size straws, you might have to put extra pieces of cardboard underneath. And we turn it over and we take a look. Oh, that's wonderful. The only correction is I need to attach my smoke to the back so it's not flip-flopping around. I'm now going to take it apart and do the final adjustments and assembly. Let's take out the entire stack all at once. I have disassembled the entire shadow box here. Here's my background. I'm going to put this on the front of it and understand where I want it because you can see that I can get to lighter areas if I like that. I think I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to make some marks on this because I'm going to cut it down to size. I'm going to go over to the paper cutter and cut it down. Okay, now I can start peeling things to stick them together. I am going to peel just part of this. I'm only going to peel down to here on these so it doesn't stick to the backing of the frame. There and there. And I should peel this one as well. And I am carefully, and excuse my head here, going to position this on top here and adhere it into place. Now I've done that in this order specifically because I want to put a dot of glue on this smoke and glue that down. And I want to have access to it while I do it. Just like that, okay? Tiny thing. Okay, let's do the final assembly. Get the frame, clean your mirror, your glass, and let's start with the front, which is the colored mat. The collar comes out The mat goes in, the collar goes in. Make sure that I'm kind of centered if it isn't a square frame. And then I'm going to peel all 4 of these. And level number 2 goes in place. Line it up, drop it in place, and press. Peel the 5 straws that are here. And now the tree level. And let's put the last level in. And the back cover. And then we get to take a look at it again. Oh, it's stunning. Who do you know that's a cross-country skier? Will you make one for them? How about somebody walking their dog or going snowshoeing? You get to decide. How many different ones will you make? Remember to share them with me on 3dcuts.com or at the Facebook group posts. Happy crafting, everyone. Make lots of them.